Good evening, I'm Julie Mennan, Chairperson of Community Board 1, and let me first of all thank all of you for coming out for our second emergency community meeting regarding the tragic fire at 130 Liberty Street. I would first want to give our deep condolences to the families of firefighter Robert Badilla and Joe Graffagino, as well as the firefighters who were injured last week, Neil Nally and William Corbetis. I first would like to ask for a moment of silence for firefighters Badilla and Graffagino. I just want to spend a minute talking about this evening's format. We're going to be getting a presentation from Bovis, which our president will introduce. Members of the public, as well as community board members who would like to speak, need to fill out a comment card. The comment cards can be obtained at the back of the room. Because we have so many people, we are going to do the same format as we did last week, where there'll be one question a speaker. And it's now my pleasure to introduce for our president, Scott Stringer.
Thank you, Julie. And I want to say that we're here to address the concerns and questions of neighborhood residents, so I'm going to be brief tonight. I do want to thank every resident who showed up here tonight. It was at the last meeting for your courage and fortitude during the past few weeks. And I want to thank Bovis for responding when I asked them to meet with the community. I'm very glad you're here, and we appreciate you being here, and I want to say thank you. Everyone should also know that while many parties are involved in the issues that we will be discussing tonight, this meeting was called specifically to hear from Bovis. I know that the company is currently involved in a number of investigations, and there are questions they may not be willing to answer. But what we must walk out of here with tonight is a clear understanding of what Bovis is going to do to allow the residents of Lower Manhattan to live without fear of yet another disaster. This community must be told the truth, and that includes when work resumes, what kind of oversight will Bovis provide, and how long before this 26-story wasteland is finally gone. Given the repeated safety violations of the previous subcontractor, what can Bovis say to convince this community, despite all of the failures on this project, that they are capable of protecting this neighborhood and finishing this important job? Because this is not some inexplicable plague we're dealing with, we now know beyond a reasonable doubt that a massive failure of oversight multiplied by every entity involved brought us to where we are tonight. And for that reason, we are glad that Bovis is here to begin a discussion about how we move forward. Now, before we begin and introduce the speakers tonight, I do want to start with brief remarks from our colleagues in government, our elected officials. The first person we're going to hear from, and I think it's important that people recognize this, is somebody who for many, many years has been a leader both in this community and in Albany in fighting very hard for the residents in and around Ground Zero, and has shown true leadership in this community, especially our meeting with Governor Spitzer. Shelley Silver has represented the best of this community in some very difficult times, and I want to thank him for allowing us to use this room tonight. I'd like to turn over the microphone to Speaker Silver.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Borough President, for your warm and generous introduction. Borough President Stringer, Community Board Chair Julie Mennan, Council Member Alan Gerson, representatives of the community. It is important that we hear from you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And with that in mind, I want to keep my remarks very brief. I'm going to welcome you to our public hearing room of the New York State Assembly. And I want to thank Scott Stringer and Julie Mennan for bringing everybody here, bringing our distinguished leadership here, and most importantly, you, the members of the community. I want to also acknowledge the representatives of Bovis who are here to make themselves available to us and to the community this evening. I'm not going to take up a lot of time reviewing every event, every discussion, every finding that has occurred since the Deutsche Bank fire, tragically killing 2 of New York residents. And to share frustration, the question that I need to ask to no one and to everyone is simply this: how much more suffering, how much more fear and trepidation is this community expected to endure? Where is the sensitivity to the history of a community that was viciously attacked, that incurred enormous casualties and awesome destruction, including mental and emotional devastation? Where's the acknowledgement of what our lower Manhattan community has suffered and what we continue to suffer to this day? Since the autumn of 2001, back when the EPA assured us that the air quality in lower Manhattan was safe, I've been saying for years publicly that the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of our community have not always or even consistently been priority number one during the recovery and rebuilding of this great community. The Deutsche Bank fire, the death of the 2 firefighters, the dropping of the pallet jack, the injuring of 2 more firefighters. These accidents, if you can call them that, are inexcusable. This should never have happened. We need to know that you understand that Vogus has an obligation to this community. We want to know this evening what it will take to safely and swiftly demolish 130 Liberty Street. We want to know what Vogus is doing and will be doing to ensure the health, safety, and peace of mind of the people who live, work, visit, and protect this community. We need to and want to learn from the history here, because the dictates of this demolition project will and must apply to the deconstruction of Fitterman Hall as well, which is waiting in the wings for our community. There has been enough sorrow, enough death, enough destruction in this community the last several lifetimes. We simply cannot tolerate more tragedies and mistakes that could be avoided with a little diligence and a lot of sensitivity to the history of Lower Manhattan. So thank you, Borough President Stringer and Julia.